Jennifer Zeller in the back. She's now the manager of everything, and the best way to say it, of all the support services, Jennifer, that the GRC, the engineers, our research department, all of that. Jennifer's now the manager of that group, and working with, let's see, Mary Beth is in here. Mary Beth is used to work with Jennifer. Now she is help me, assistant project manager. Is that?
Yes.
Good.
Good job.
For Jonathan Sangster, and she'll be responsible for putting information going out on projects. So you may see her name on some of the information you receive. So I want you to know who she was or is. And Lisa Owens. Lisa, there you are. Lisa's our newest person, I believe. And I can't keep up with who's the last one in the door. But is it product development or
Business development.
business development? There we go. Business development manager, and she's going to be going out working the country, right? Or you work in the world too?
Work in the universe.
Work in the world.
The universe.
That's it. Helping us find leads all over the world, all over our business development universe, and helping us to find those. So again, somebody new that's out there. She may not be in the communities as much, but you will see her name, and as she learns our business, she'll be out here. We get everybody's card, KJ?
Raise your hand if you have a picture card. Raise the card. Good, I think we got it done.
Good, and then one more person I want to introduce, but I'll introduce them kind of as the team because they're our group that's going to be speaking. But for those who did not know Pedro Cherry, I want to make sure before he walks back out the door that he is fully recognized right there. Pedro, good to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
He's our Vice President in charge of Community Economic Development. So let's get the show on the road. We have two distinguished captains with us today. No pirates at all. These are seaworthy people that know their business. And Tommy Wade is no stranger. I mean, if you were at the luncheon, you just heard his praises sung today for Niagara as well as Kings Hawaiian. And Tommy, I'm glad to have on board, and he's going to be directing part of this. And Rosa Jupiter is also is a new on Jennifer's team, as in full-time Georgia Power employee. So we're glad to have you in an official capacity, Rosa. At this, I'm going to turn it over to these two guys and let them run the show. And this is the way we're going to work. We've got information, as you saw when we set this out, is how to do an RFI using Select Georgia. Now, this is a basic, very basic. This is not your 41-pager that you get on Friday afternoons usually. But we thought we would start with something that is common through most communities, and that's what they get. Basic information. And Rosa's also going to take it a little bit further in some information that you probably will be asked, but because she puts it together for a lot of RFIs, but you may not see it on a standard form and how to get that information and how we provide that. So she'll go into that in a little more detail. And then we'll do, if we have time permitting, we'll do a little bit of some creative things you can do with Select Georgia at the end. With that, Tommy, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Rope. So, Rope, I'm gonna step back just a little bit here and do our safety briefing, because we've got Pedro in the room and we've got to make sure we do the safety briefing, right, Pedro?
That's right.
Okay. So you guys all know that here at Georgia Power, we're very safety conscious. We want to make sure that we have a safe and productive meeting today. So if we should have to evacuate this building, which we have had to do on occasion, I would like for everyone to please look to your right, and whoever is sitting to your right, that is the person you are responsible for in the event of an evacuation. If we evacuate, if we have to evacuate, we're going to go out these doors in the back, we'll go out the glass doors into the courtyard, and we're going to all assemble over in front of the Waffle House.
Great.
And then maybe find a place to get a cocktail after that.
When we all be scattered and smothered, we'll be there.
Yes. How many of you guys know CPR? You know that the current standards are 30 compressions, 2 breaths. So check that off. If anyone has a really serious cardiac event, we have an AED You go out this door, it'll be the fourth door on the right, and you'll see the AED there. So you just plug it up and it tells you what to do. If we have any inclement weather, which I don't think we're expecting today, but in the event of a tornado or something like that, we would go deeper into the building and seek shelter. So with that, I'm going to get right into our presentation. So as Rope said, we have a sort of a sample RFI that you guys all have copies of in your chair. And what I've tried to do is go through this RFI and show you guys where you can find a lot of this information on your own using Select Georgia. And then the information that you can't find there, I'm going to show you what I'm calling Select Rosa. So you can call Rosa and say, Rosa, I need some help figuring this out. And we're going to show you some of the tools that she uses to answer some of the more difficult questions. All right, so just to get started here, you guys all know what our website is, right? How many people know that? Somebody yell it out. I love this crowd. You guys are great. SelectGeorgia.com is going to bring you to our main economic development webpage. All right, so if I'm sitting down trying to fill out an RFI, I'm probably going to be filling something out on a piece of property that I'm submitting, right? Is anybody here from Putnam County? Okay, we're gonna pick on you today. So we're gonna find a site in a building in Putnam County, and we're gonna go through this little sample RFI and just show you guys where you can get some of this information from Select Georgia. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the property search. And this is gonna bring you to what we call affectionately Select Georgia Lite, but it really is the basic search function of Select Georgia. There's a basic function and there's an advanced function, and we're going to look at both of those things today. So in Select Georgia Lite, if I'm from Putnam County and I'm submitting a building on an RFI, what I would do is come over here and click on Industrial Building, and I'm going to go to Putnam County, and we'll scroll on down here, we'll get to Putnam County. I'm going to hit Find, and I'm going to get my list of buildings that I have diligently worked to keep up to date on the state's website so that when Georgia Power does the download, we'll be up to date on Select Georgia, right? Okay. So let's just start with this first one here, 145 Industrial Boulevard, Eatonton, Georgia. All right, so I'm going to select that building. I get my little detail sheet here on the building. A lot of times these RFIs want to see a flyer on the building. Well, if it's a community-owned building, you may not have a real fancy real estate flyer, and you may just want something basic to attach to your RFI. Well, if you want to generate a basic flyer on this building, you can come over here and click on the little PDF, Create Custom Report, and I'm just going to come up here, we're going to give it a title, we'll call it Project Red Dog. All right, and let's add a map to this one because those pesky RFIs are always wanting you to provide maps, right? All right, so let's just create the report. And it's going to do a little thinking here in the background, and we're going to get a button here that will allow us to download our report. And we're loading. And this is going to give us our basic building flyer and a map of where the property is, hopefully. Come on, electrons. All right, it's thinking. Okay, somebody using their cell phone in here, taking up all the bandwidth.
Push F5, correct.
Okay, moving right along. I don't know why that's not working. That's very strange. There we go. All right, so here's our basic building flyer. Let me zoom that out a little bit. So we get the photograph of the building, get some basic information about the building. Oh my goodness. This has to happen in front of a live audience. And then here is our location map showing where the building is located. So very easy way to generate a flyer with a location map if you don't already have one. All right, so let's back out of this. Okay. On the RFI, you guys are going to see that they're asking for a labor force within a 45-minute commute. Okay, this is the thing that always really gets people, because the RFIs always have these bizarre mileage rings or drive times that they want you to give them information on. Well, on Select Georgia Basic, once you get to your building or your site, if you click on this demographic report tab, we have the ability here to do some demographic reports, consumer expenditures, and labor force information up to 60 miles radius or a 60-minute drive time. All right, so on this RFI, they're asking for labor force within 45-minute commute. All right, so I'm going to type in a 45-minute drive time here, and we're going to look at labor force, and I'm going to generate that report. Okay, so on our map, it shows us what that 45-minute drive time looks like. And then it gives us lots and lots and lots of detail here about the labor force. All right, so let's see here. They were asking for the specific number of people. So we've got a total employees number here. This is very small. I know you guys can't see that, but it's 46,430 within that 45-minute drive time. So very easy, quick way to grab those kind of drive time or radius specific demographic numbers that the RFIs ask for.
And is it all employees? Like whether they work at Wendy's or at Pirelli?
Yeah, I think it's everything.
Okay.
Now they have the breakdown. They have the breakdown on here by industry type.
Oh, okay.
So you go in and pull out the individuals. Let's try to generate that report here real quick and see if this bombs out on us again. Might be a little easier to read here. All right, so clicking. There we go.
That's how the
Right, so
other
there's
one's
the
supposed
total.
to be, right?
Yep. All right, so see how it breaks it out by establishment type. So you get your food manufacturing, tobacco manufacturing, apparel. So it really allows you to get some detailed information based on those different drive times or mileage radiuses. Okay. All right, so now let's go into the advanced Select Georgia, because I'm going to show you a couple little tricks on the advanced Select Georgia that will help you answer a lot of these other questions on here. So on the RFI, you'll see out beside some of these items here, I've got county profile report or county workforce report. Well, those are our standard reports that we provide through Select Georgia. And if you look through this RFI, you'll see that you can pull a lot of this information off of those two reports. And I want to show you guys how you get to those reports. All right, so let's go back to our Putnam County example. I'm going to click on industrial buildings here, and I'm going to go to Putnam County. All right, so we're just going to pull up all the buildings in Putnam County. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little trick. So everybody pay attention. Close attention to this one. In Select Georgia, if I want to get at my county level information, what I can do is use my Identify tool and just click somewhere in the county. I'm going to get this little More Information box here. If I change this over to counties, I'm going to get all of the county level detail. So I can either go through this information on screen and pull stuff out to answer the RFI, or if you want to get a printed report, you can do these two reports on here, the county workforce or the county profile. So county profile, I'm going to print that one real quick. Let's take a look at that. And that's going to give us information like the median age of the population, the median income. We can get our total population off of this report. We've got some population projections. We also do it for the draw area. Okay, so lots of good stuff on this report. This will answer probably 80% of the stuff on your RFI as far as the demographic information goes about your community. Yes, ma'am.
Where are y'all pulling y'all's information from? Is it BLS? or-
It's a variety of sources. It's BLS, it's Esri, it's Applied Geographics.
Have y'all seen any discrepancies in data? We pulled some, and we found out that in Baldwin County, so we had 21 manufacturing firms, and we have like 9. And so it's really skewing some of our data. Are y'all seeing any of that, or?
We do, and Jennifer, you might want to just kind of
Depends on
address.
what survey you're using, so, I mean, do you know what survey?
BLS?
So, would they have, QCW, which is the quarter census employment wage, and they might have per employment survey, which is a monthly estimate. So there's several different estimates, and I would advise you use the annual QCW data for your total universe instead of the CES when you're answering an R5. Because that could be just that one quarter data that fluctuates, or that one month data that fluctuates. We can talk about that. But,
Well, we had accountants, we had bakeries that were showing up with manufacturing firms. When the DOL was able to pull a list of companies, so just, obviously, that was making our data not be correct, so.
Well, you're talking about occupations now when you say accountant,
Like CPAs,
right?
and they're showing up as manufacturing companies in our, when they pull the company, the profiles.
It's really odd.
It was, yes,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
don't know what it would be. We can talk about that offline and to see exactly what you're calling, figure that out.
Now, when I get those kind of questions about demographic data, you know what I always say? I always say, y'all tell me who went out there and counted every one of those people, and I'll give you $100, because they're all just estimates. So nobody went out and actually counted every one of the people in the county and created these numbers. They're going through some kind of scientific guess to pull a lot of this together.
But I would say, and Jennifer, I think you would say it, because we use nationally recognized sources, and we do cite them on that, it said Esri for that last report that up there, that most RFI sent out would be recognizing that that's a credible source.
Yeah, I mean, every one of the sources is going to base it on either the census or QCW, which is actually your only census of business is QCW. So it's a sample size, and to some extent there are estimates in there, but those are your best sample sizes, the 2010 or the decennial census or the QCW. Everything is estimates based on that same base.
So for our information though, we use those credible sources
Correct.
that any consultant would say, okay, that's correct, I understand, that's as good as you could get.
Correct. And depending on what the question is and how timely you need it, is when you have to make the call of how to use it. And we could help you if you're confused.
Okay, ready to move forward? All right, we talked about 2 reports, county profile and county workforce. You guys remember how I got this screen to come up? Identify button and click anywhere in the county. Okay, so I'm identifying on the county. All right, and when I get there, I want to make sure that this says counties right here, because there's other layers that I can get information on. But in this case, I want the county information. All right, the other report we talked about is the county workforce report. So this is really all of the workforce-specific data that shows up on your RFI. So here we're looking for people that have bachelor's degree or higher percent, high school degree or higher, current unemployment rate. So all of that information is going to be on this county workforce report for you and your surrounding counties. Okay? All right, so lots of good stuff there. You can have an industry mix here that has some of the same information as Select Work Basic. Okay? All right, so those 2 reports are really good for answering questions on RFIs. All right, moving right along. So in this instance, we were going to submit a building in Putnam County. Well, on the RFIs, they always have all these questions and all the details about the buildings. But we have that information in here too. We have everything in here that you guys have submitted to us about the building, plus some value add stuff that we calculated on the back end. All right, so I'm going to change this back over to industrial buildings. So I just identified this building right here. This is the A2B warehouse. So we've got all of your square footage information, what type of building it is. But the good stuff is down here in the demographics. So for every single building and every single site in Select, Georgia, we go in and we calculate 10, 30, and 60-mile radius demographics for the building sites. So that's sitting there for you guys to use if you want. We also have the same thing on workforce. We do 10, 30, and 60-mile workforce calculations around each site and building. So that gets you very specific for that piece of property. Okay.
Wages also there.
Wages, also do the wages, wage information. Okay. Incentives, if those buildings or sites fall inside any incentive zones, we take a look at that and indicate that and figure out what the correct jobs tax credit is that those buildings or sites are going to get because of their zone they're in.
Where do you pull your tax data from?
The tax data,
Department of Revenue.
revenue.
Yes.
That's a good answer.
That's a good chapter, good question.
Yeah.
All right, so moving right along, so this is the building detail sheet. We could also do a building flyer from here. So if I wanted to do a special building detail flyer, and hit this right here in USB PDF. This is going to give you a little bit more information than the previous one did. This is going to have all that incentive zone stuff on it. Some of the graphic information, labor force information. So this has more information than Select Building Basic. All on a single page flyer.
What's the information from, like, that's in an opportunity zone?
It's an opportunity zone.
Yeah.
Is that new? Has that been there for a while?
It's been there longer than I have, so.
Okay.
We get this directly
If that's
from-
the case, where you need to let us know what the boundaries of your opportunity zone are and make sure that we have it in our GIS system, because that way, when we run these calculations, we're picking up that opportunity zone and grabbing that correct jobs tax credit.
We get the shape files directly from Department of Community Affairs. So sometimes communities, like, for some reason, it's not official, or they don't have some piece of paper that they needed to make an opportunity zone, and the community actually thinks they're an opportunity zone, and there's a disconnect. So we,
Like, they give us a map, so I should just send the map to my local person, Jim Lovett, and have him get it updated?
yes, I mean, but that concerns me that, because we get the files directly from DCA, is the DCA not recognizing it? So that's my concern, is because ours is a duplicate of DCA.
Okay.
So that establishes the OZs, so.
Should I contact DCA first?
Yeah, we should look at what's going on here. Okay.
Now, the building data, even in the advanced Select Georgia, is still pulled from Georgia Facts?
Yes. All the basic information about the building comes from Georgia Facts, and then we have all those kind of value add calculations that we're doing.
Is there a minimum size building that you want?
There is. Generally, it's 20,000 square feet, but if it's a special case, we'll take a look at it. Okay? All right, let's switch over and take a look at a site detail. So a lot of times on these RFIs, they're asking for building information and site information. Let's take a look at this Rock Eagle Science and Technology Park. Okay, so I'm just going to identify on that real quick. And switch this over to sites. All right, so one of the things I want to draw your attention to here is the maps, okay? The RFIs are always asking you for a location map, topo map, aerial photograph, and a lot of times in the more rural parts of the state, you may not have those kind of maps available. You may just have a boundary survey or something. Well, if you've got the site in Select, Georgia, you can come over here and select the site package report, which is our standard site package that we give out to all the prospects. This one has a single page of data about the site and 3 maps. Okay, it has a location map that shows the transportation network. It has a topo into Word or somewhere else and annotate it. All I have to do is come up here and click on Map Snapshot. Okay, and I can output it to a JPEG, but in this case, I'm just going to copy it to the clipboard. All right, Right now, we're getting this little error message here, which is not really an error, but it's telling us is that Google doesn't want us to use a whole bunch of their map data. So they're restricting the amount of map data that I can capture. So I'm just going to click on this button that says use the maximum allowed base map size. Copy that to the clipboard. Okay, come over here to Word, right click, paste. Bam, there's my map. So now I can come in and we can insert some annotation on it. So I'll go to shapes. I like little call outs down here. So there's a call out. Type in use site. Grab the little yellow thing here and pull this down. That. Bam. Just that easy.
Put your logo, put your name at the top.
Type it. You can type any kind of descriptive text under here. This is the X parcel. It's 8 acres. It's 4,000 dollars an acre. Okay. All right. Let me show you one more little map thing before we get into our select roads demonstration. Save that. Another thing that is really cool that you can do in Select Road that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, if I have a site selected, so I'm just going to come over here and select this Rock Eagle Park. All right, so I'm just going to select my point, grab the park. Once I have that site selected, I can come down here and see this little button right here. It says Export Selection to KMZ. How many of you guys use Google Earth? What this does is it allows me to export that site boundary out, and I can bring it into Google Earth, and then in Google Earth I can do all kind of annotation, or draw paths around it, points on it, or whatever, and save that image out and put that in my presentation. Okay? All right, so I'm going to save that KZ component. Already saved it out here, so just close that. Down here on the Google Earth, and file, open, and save that out as a KMZ. So it's KMZ, open the file. Now there's the park boundary. So I can now edit the symbology here. So if I want to see through it, I'm just going to expand that. I'm going to right click on full polygon. Properties, style and color. We're going to show this as just an outline. So now I've got a red outline on there. We're going to bump the width of the line up to 4, so it makes it a little heavier. And now I can come in here, and let's say I've got an existing industry that's sitting on this site right here, or maybe I want to tell somebody what this is. I've got a little point tool there. Drag that over. And say this is your I could email that to somebody. I could save it out as an image, pull into a presentation. File, save image. All right, I can put a title on it, a legend, all kinds of things I can do with this now, but I've got to do work.
How do you make that a temporary spot?
So
How do you make that a temporary spot? Permanent spot so everybody in the world sees this? That was the question.
I think you're going to have it uploaded to Google Maps. So do you have a Google Maps account? I think if you have a Google Maps account and you upload shapes to that account, you can specify on there where you want that to be searchable by Google, and then anybody can go and find it.
That's what you want to do if you have an industrial park you own, and you want to put it out there. So anybody searching in that area, it's going to pop up.
There are limitations. I don't know if Google changed it though, because they want it to be an operating business. Now, what you said is true when it comes to your specific account and you can share it. But if you want to post it and somebody put it on Google and it pops up They want it to be an existing business, and you have to submit it to Google. And they have to go through some process. Then they'll mail you a letter with an authorization code. Then you have to go through a process, mail it back to them. It's a little process, but they want to make sure first is if it's a legit business. If it's a legit business, they will pop it up there. But selling property, it doesn't work that way. At least unless they change it. This was probably about when I was doing my research about 6 months ago. So that's what I know about that. But from what you're saying, it's true on your personal account. So.
Cool. All right, so, anything else you want to cover on the whole mapping piece?
I think it's probably time to move on.
Any questions about mapping, demographic numbers, workforce numbers, any of that kind of stuff?
Some of y'all have gotten into commercial business, and that's where I have been able to show and just go into a map, grab the image, show the outline, measure how many acres it is, and if you're dealing with a European country, we didn't show it, but you can actually change the hectares as well. So you can do it and convert that, and it shows it automatically. Because I've always wondered, how in the world do you do that? It does it for you. But being able to outline it, put it in there, and then just drop it into a Word doc that you can send. And that's why Tommy and I talked about what is the most common tools that y'all have. Most everybody has Microsoft Office, so that's why we're trying, and Google Earth is out there for you to use, and as it showed at home, most people do. So that's why we just want to use common tools that everybody should have.
What's the website? All right, well, now we're getting ready to select rosa.com, okay?
What if we reach out to our office, we have a question, who do we contact, you or the?
You can call me, or you can call Rosa, or you can call Elise.
Okay.
So Elise is your new.
What we're going to do is take what they just went through and try to put it in a step-by-step process, so you can take it and then we'll send it to you. And then, so you say, gosh, how did they do that?
But it's never that they can't call.
That's right. You can always call, but it's always good to have a step-by-step, this is how you do it, because Tommy covered a lot in just that short period of time.
I'm trying to show you guys the tip.
And there's a lot more in there. For as much as he showed you, probably 3 or 4 times as much. Yeah, that's what we're gonna send you. We'll email you because y'all RSVP'd, and for those who didn't, just make sure you get your card or something. I think everybody's card is going to be in there. They registered, but also we had your card in the fishbowl.
All right, so while you're doing that, I'll kind of do your intro about that. All right, so guys, on the RFI, we had a couple of questions here that were not select Georgia type questions. One of these is industry-related occupations. Please indicate total current and projected number of jobs as well as median hourly wage by occupation. Another question, job growth and industry-related occupation. Please indicate total net and percent change. Okay, so this is where we get into, log in. So this is where we get into really specific occupation level data. And Rosa is going to demonstrate a tool that we use called EMSI, or EMSI. And that stands for Economic Modeling Specialist, Inc. Is that right, Jennifer? And so what EMSI does is it was actually developed originally for colleges and community colleges to use to try to identify what programs were needed to support the industries that were in the local communities. Well, several years ago, Rosa discovered this piece of software, and we took a look at it and evaluated it and thought, wow, I mean, that really has some great applications for the economic development business. So we went to our VP at the time and begged and asked him to pull the checkbook out, which he did. And so we got a subscription to the product, and now we use it almost every day because, as you guys know, these RFIs, workforce is one of the things that they're always very interested in. They want very specific information about different types of occupations and what their wage levels are and where they live and all that kind of stuff. So now that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rose Jupiter. She's going to demonstrate how to use that tool.
Good afternoon. Tommy just demonstrated how to navigate your way through data that we offer publicly use in Select Georgia. I will be demonstrating the non-public subscription-based tool like MZ, which is one of the several that we have access to, in order to answer a few of the items that we have in the RFI. I believe Tommy just mentioned those. Our RFI is asking for the availability of industry-related occupations, median hourly wages, as well as the growth within those occupations. So for demonstration purposes, let's assume that the company driving this RFI is a mobile home manufacturer. Now, we know that many times, if not most of the times, companies do not like sharing their payroll, which in this case, it will be awesome to have so we can have an idea of occupations that they employ in their company. So that leaves us, researchers and communities, with the task of trying to find out that type of information. In this case, MC has a staffing patterns section that helps us determine those types of occupations. Through that. So let me show you how we do that using the MZ tool. So for demonstration purposes and due to the lack of time, I've already created a region that it's beyond Putnam County. We all know that instead of, we should use a labor dry area. In this case, I use a 30-mile radius, which includes 15 counties. Now that I've created that, and that we know, and now that we know we have mobile home manufacturer located into our region, we need to find out the NAICS code that correspond to the mobile home manufacturer. In this case, we're in luck because there's a NAICS code that corresponds to the mobile home manufacturer. So let me look for that NAICS code. All right, in this case, I already knew. So I click on the 6-digit NAICS code, and here you see that it's popped up, manufactured home, mobile home manufacturers. Okay? We click on that link, and then the system automatically takes us to this economy industry overview. And we're going to have some information, some overview indicators of that industry up here. And then since we want to look for those occupations that a mobile home manufacturer employs, here we have our staffing patterns list. They employ team assemblers, woodworking machine setters, assemblers, and fabricators, and so on. So having that list, and we can click right here, and it gives us a complete list of all the occupations that they use. So I have that just for that NAICS code, just for the mobile home manufacturers. But in order to show that we have potential workforce, and that we have potential workforce for that industry, we want to use all team assemblers, all assemblers and fabricators that work across all industries. So for that, I'm going to run an occupation report. I've already run the occupation report for time purposes, so let's look for that. And here I have my mobile home manufacturer occupation. So again, I just want to remind you that these are the occupations that are potential occupations for the mobile home manufacturer industry. Once I click there, it gives me the option of occupation report, occupation table. And for this group, I took the top 12 occupations for that NAICS code. So here you can see to the left the list of occupations that I grouped together, and then the region that I created before, some overall stats. And then in order to answer the RFI, which I believe it's the fourth item under general information, we click on net change, and here it gives me the total number of jobs in those occupations for that region, and the projected number of occupational jobs for that region. And then I can answer, okay, that's the total net, and I can also answer the percent change. We also have those numbers for each occupations listed here. Now, the other item is to show the total current and projected numbers of jobs, and as well as median hourly wages by occupation. So here we see we have the overall median earnings for all those occupations in this region. So if I want more detailed information, I click here, and it gives me the overall median earnings for that region, but it also gives me the individual median hourly earning for that specific occupation. Now, MC gives you the option of downloading this data either in Word, PDF, or Excel. We mostly get our RFIs in Word document or Excel. So in this case, I just chose to download the Excel file. And I think I had saved it somewhere. Oh, might as well just open it. And here it's going to give you several tabs. On one tab is going to give you the median home or earnings by occupation, and another tab is going to give you their estimate current jobs by occupation and their projected number of jobs by occupation. So here you can see the 15 county labor draw, the descriptions of those occupations, some demographics, the overall percent change in the median earnings. Here is what they're asking for on the RFI, number of jobs by occupations and projected number of jobs, as well as the earnings that they're asking on the RFI. It's also give you some regional trends. I believe this is some default that I probably forgot to take off or something. So that's pretty much it in order to answer that question. Is there any questions regarding the tool or?
Is that, you said that's non-public stuff. Do we have access to this, or do we have to go through you to get that information?
SelectRosa.com.
Okay.
No, you need to go through us to get it.
Hopefully, I mean, we're here to help, so please call your community manager or call us, and we'll be happy to help.
Ray, the answer is yes, you can purchase this.
Yes.
I know when Matt was in Athens, he had it. He had a license with it, so you could utilize it, but it's unless you do it a lot, it's probably cost prohibitive. But that's why we're here. It's a resource that's out there. We're glad to do it, and if you need something in particular, just email me what your request is, and I'll forward it on. So that's probably how the community managers will work as well.
Another thing I'll add to that is that our subscription is, and Jennifer, you correct me here, we're down to zip code level in Georgia and county level for the rest of the country. So what that allows us to do is some very specific comparisons between other counties in the United States that you might be competing with for projects.
And I'll add that you can just do your own custom region if you want. And with the ability to do the actual radius like Rosa did, allows us to pull in by zip code for a radius. So that's really great when you can apply that back to the workforce tool. That's something that you can't do. The basis of all this is Department of Labor data, BLS data, and the staffing pattern comes from the BLS National Staffing Pattern Program. So, but you're not going to get projected data or real-time data unless you have a subscription like this, because it's dated. All the government data is dated. But the beauty of that, looking at staffing patterns, is you may have a talent base you don't even realize. let's say, you know, you're trying to hire IT and you realize office and administrative workers actually can transition well to IT, and this shows you that a lot of people are hiring those. It can show you a particular talent base you might have in a different industry that you don't know about that applies to something that's looking in your region. So that's the beauty of using talent.
Does it show based on where the job exists or where the employee lives?
All right, all of this data is place of work. So that's where your work is.
If you have a high out-migration, it's harder to tell what your people in your county do once they leave to go work.
Well, that's true of customizing your territory. If you like you got a high migration to Rome, wherever, then you would have that in your.
But we have place of residence data from census by occupation as well that we can think about.
Emphasize or highlight here that Select Georgia is not just the tool that Tommy demonstrated. We have several other sections on our website that we would like for you to find valuable. For instance, if you go to our Select Georgia and then click on the publications link right here, this posts all our industry reports and other publications that you might find helpful. The Atlanta Overview, Fortune 500, which we are currently updating, unionization rates, the Atlanta rankings, international profiles. So we hope that you jump from the tool and go to the other sides of our website and utilize this information. Something that I also wanted to emphasize is that even though our industry studies are state level, with state level information, we are able to customize that information down to the region. So if the reports has workforce, occupation, median earnings, all of that sort of stats with a tool like NZ, we can go down to your community level. Another section of our website that I wanted to emphasize was our maps.
Yeah, go back to the thing.
Yeah. Right here, Select Georgia, our interactive maps. And I believe one of the maps that it's most utilized is the Georgia Incentive Zones map. And basically here you can enter an address, the address where your site is, or your building is, and you can figure out if it's located in a opportunity zone, in a less developed census tract. In this case, we're going to use Union Point and see where that falls.
Click on it again.
Oh, sorry. And here we see that in that particular case, it falls in an opportunity zone in a less developed census tract. There you go, so you can have a better idea of that. So overall, we hope that you have enjoyed this demonstration of the Select Georgia Lite, Advanced, and Custom. We're here to help. Please give us a call. And I think we're good.
Good. Well, thank you both, Tommy and Rosa. Let's give them a hand. Fishbowl. Underneath. There you go. Thanks, Kevin. Last chance. Everybody got it in?